In this video I'm going to show you how to make whole wheat bread using the wheat berries from our wheat storage. So here I have a 5-gallon bucket, and I believe this is from '08 if you look on the front here. So this has been in storage for 2 years, but it will last up to 30 years. And I have it in a 5-gallon bucket with a Mylar bag, and in here you can see these are my wheat berries, and there's oxygen packs in there. And I like to leave this one right next to my wheat grinder. That way I can just grab a cupful, put it in my wheat grinder, and grind the wheat. Now you can, if you don't have a wheat grinder, you can use a blender. Although when you use a blender, it will be a little bit more coarse, but I'll show you how to get through that. And in the meantime, this is the wheat that I've already ground up. Take this lid off. And this is the wheat that we're going to use right now. You can see it's nice and powdery. And it's real simple to use this. All you do is you put your wheat in it and you adjust it here to the coarseness you want. Okay, so this should be enough wheat that we're going to be using. But this is a Country Living Mills wheat grinder. It's a manual one, and I like to have as many manual items as I can in case the electricity goes out. So I prefer using the manual grinder, and this is one of the best on the market. I always tell people you can always tell when you have a good product is when you go on eBay and you can't find a used one. Then you know you got a good product. Okay, so now let's make the bread. Okay, this bread recipe is my recipe, and I've made many loaves of bread until I came up with a recipe that I liked and my family liked. So first I want to talk about, here's my ground wheat right here. Now here's my flour that's been in storage for about 2 years. And years ago when they first started grinding flour and bleaching it, there wasn't any nutritional value after a while after they ground it down. So the Food and Drug Administration said, well, you need to start fortifying this flour in bread and stuff so there's some nutritional value. So they started doing it. So all your flour has already been fortified. And I'm going to show you right here on the label. And if you can read that right here, you'll see that the flour has been fortified to give it some nutritional value. Okay? So this flour right here has been in storage for 2 years, and I want to show you that's good. I've had flour that I've used that's been in storage for 3 years, and it's perfectly fine. And if you store this properly, it's good up to 5 years, and sometimes longer. Okay, so I'm going to show you how nice and hard it is. No leaks in my bags. And you can see, this is nice and hard. Okay, and the flour is perfectly good. Now, one thing that you're going to want to do when your flour has been in storage for a few years, when you take it out, you're going to want to sift it because it will clump together, but it'll break up real easy and it's nice and fresh, but you will want to sift it prior to cooking with it. Okay? And so I have some pre-sifted flour over here already, and we're going to make the bread. Here I have my Bosch bread mixer, which I absolutely love. I love KitchenAid, but when I found this Bosch, I fell in love. This is the best thing when it comes to making bread or anything, cakes or what have you, because it always gets all the ingredients from the bottom and doesn't leave any behind. So I really like that. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take 4½ cups of regular flour, okay, and in that flour I'm going to add 1½ cups of whole wheat. These are ½ cups, so this equals 1½ cups. Okay, next I'm going to put in my secret ingredients. At Honeyville, you can get dough conditioner. Now when you go to the grocery store and you get that the bread from the grocery store and it's nice and fluffy and you make great sandwiches with it and it stays really nice, well that's usually it's because it's been conditioned. So here I have some dough conditioner, and I also use wheat gluten. Your wheat gluten right here, this is from Honeyville too, Now this is gonna raise the protein level in your bread. And what you want to do with the wheat gluten is you want to add 1 tablespoon per 1 cup of flour. So I have 6 cups of flour there. But in this recipe, I'm only going to use 3 tablespoons of wheat gluten. Okay. Now, this wheat gluten from Honeyville is good up to 10 years stored, so it lasts a really long time. And trust me, you'll go through it before the 10 years are up. I always do. Next, I have the dough enhancer, and this helps make your bread really fluffy. It keeps it fresher longer, and you don't have to use it. This is my recipe. This is what I use all the time. And in this one, you're going to want to use 1 teaspoon per cup. So we're going to use 6 of these. Okay, and now I'm going to put 1 teaspoon of salt inside my dry mixes. Now you never want to put the salt in with your yeast. You always want to put the salt in with your dry mixes. Okay, and we're going to put this in here. Okay, now I'm going to prepare the yeast. So what I have is 2 cups of pre-made powdered milk. You can use regular milk. I always use powdered milk because I try to use the items in my pantry. And so I'm going to take this powdered milk and I'm going to heat it for 2 minutes in my microwave. I know that's a little on the hot side, but there's a reason for that. I want my sugar to really melt and to really dissolve. And then I'll let it cool and put my yeast inside. So I'm going to put this in the microwave for 2 minutes. Okay, I've taken the milk out of the microwave. It was in there for 2 minutes, and you can see it's still steaming a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 4 tablespoons of sugar into this hot milk. And like I said, the reason I'm doing this is because I really want my sugar to be dissolved before I put my yeast in, because the liquid sugar is going to feed that yeast. Now, instead of putting white sugar in, you can use maple sugar, you can use date sugar, you can use honey, you can use molasses. It's all up to you. Okay, and then I'm going to stir this up really good, and I'm going to let this milk cool down until I can put my yeast in. Now, you don't want the milk to be too hot before you put your yeast in, or it will kill the yeast, just like when you make yogurt. So we're going to cool this down, and when it's warm, not lukewarm, warm, not hot, just like bath water warm, that's when you're going to want to put your yeast in. Okay, so what you want to do is you put your finger in there and it's nice and bath water warm, not hot. So that's the perfect temp right now to put our yeast in. Now, I'm going to use 2 heaping tablespoons of yeast. And I know a lot of people say they don't use that much, but I'm telling you this works really good. I use 2 heaping tablespoons of yeast. Just like that. Now you want to make sure when you store your yeast, you store it in the refrigerator after you put the lid on it really tight, okay? But if you keep it in the freezer, it also stretches the shelf life. I'm going to stir this up real good. And after you stir it up real good, the other trick is you let that set for 10 minutes. Exactly 10 minutes. So I always put a timer on, because if you take it too soon and you put it in with your flour, it's going to take a really long time for your bread to rise. But if you leave this in there in that lukewarm water for exactly 10 minutes, your bread is going to rise within an hour and a half to 2 hours, just like that. But if you don't, you can see 4 hours later your bread really hasn't doubled. So you really need to let this set for 10 minutes. Okay, while our yeast is setting, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the mixer just to mix our dry ingredients around real good.